What's up guys, Mickle here, and there is a lot going on in the cryptocurrency industry right now. First of all, we have a full-on regulatory war between the SEC and the CFTC. In this video, I want to talk about a brand new case that was just dropped against Binance because this is going to have massive implications going forward. I also want to talk about Gary Gensler being held accountable. We just got a massive update from Eleanor Terrett involving Gary Gensler being dragged in front of Congress. I want to talk about what we could get from that because this is something we have been waiting for a while. Last of all, at the end of this video, I want to go over whether or not tomorrow is going to be a big day in the Ripple SEC case. David Schwartz has been dropping some riddles. I want to go over those, but outside the speculation of whether or not tomorrow is going to be the day this finally ends, I want to talk about what I'm going to do with my XRP when this case ends and when we finally get some massive exponential price movement in the price of XRP. I want to talk about whether or not I'm just going to dump it all at a certain price or I have bigger plans for my XRP. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to see that. I don't think this is something I have ever talked about on this channel. Like always, if you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. I really want to try to get to 50k subscribers and your support means so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP or the Flair token, make sure to check out the link for Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I actually want to start out this video and just give a quick little shout out to the Flair token because it looks like we're on a pretty nice rally right now. And for those of you who have been following this channel, I have been saying I have been extremely impressed with the rewards I'm getting from holding the Flair token and delegating it in my Bifrost wallet. So if we can actually get a nice price pump on the Flair token while we're getting rewards just for holding the token in our Bifrost wallet and delegating it, well, that is a very powerful combination. Now I want to point out, Flair is obviously down a lot from its all-time highs and from when the IOU is trading. But at the end of the day, if you're just using this as a time to accumulate the token, stake more of your Flair on Bifrost, or delegate it I should say, and get more of the token coming in, well you actually like low prices then because it's cheaper to get more Flair. At the end of the day, Flair really launched in the middle of a bear market. It was going to have a lot of price suppression, but when we come out on the other side of this, if Flair is successful, there is a very powerful project going on here. Now, the other thing I want to quickly point out about Flair's price, because I was seeing a lot of discussion around this and I don't really agree with it. A lot of people are saying the price of Flair is never really going to go up because so much of the token is going to be distributed over the next couple years. I just want to point out that a lot of this distribution is already priced into Flair. When the market already knows something's going to happen, the market actually tends to front run that event and price it in beforehand. So just because a lot of Flair is going to come onto the market doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be holding down the price. If there was a lot of Flair coming onto the market that no one knew about, well, that might hold down the price because the market wasn't able to price it in. I just want to point this out because a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm not going to buy Flair until the distribution is done because it's going to tank the price. I just want people to understand you are taking the risk that the distribution is already priced into Flair and you're going to miss out on all the rewards. Just want to throw it out there. Obviously, no one can predict the future. No one knows what's going to happen. Just something to consider. So now I want to move on and talk about Gary Gensler being dragged in front of Congress. Obviously, this is something we have been waiting on for a while now. It looks like Eleanor Terrett actually just confirmed it's going to happen on April 18th, which is obviously very exciting. Now, I've been saying for a while, I don't think we're going to get any fireworks directly out of this hearing because at the end of the day, Gary Gensler is a political master. He's going to be able to dodge most of the questions, and I actually think he has been strategically forming his litigation around not answering certain questions. Think about something like the FTX case. We know that Gary Gensler and the SEC were heavily involved in allowing FTX to get as much regulatory clarity as they did and kind of gain a regulatory monopoly over the rest of the industry. Well, almost immediately after FTX blew up, Gary Gensler and the SEC brought a lawsuit against FTX. I have a feeling that the main reason the SEC brought this case against FTX was simply so that when Gary Gensler goes in front of Congress, he can say, oh, we actually have ongoing litigation, therefore I can't answer any questions. I have a very good feeling that is the entire reason the SEC brought the case against FTX, and I just have a feeling during Gary Gensler's testimony in front of Congress, it's going to be a lot of stuff like that. Now, at the end of the day, this is still an important date because the stuff that goes on behind the scenes where Gary Gensler has to answer questions in written form to these congressmen actually does put a lot of pressure on him. And the more hearings we can get like this, the more pressure Gary Gensler is going to be under, especially if it's also coming from Democrats. I think the most important thing we're going to have to watch here is how much pressure he gets from his own party, because that's when Gary Gensler really starts getting into trouble. And that's the kind of thing that could really force him to start changing his policies. So now I want to move on and talk about a brand new case that was just dropped today. And this one actually wasn't by the SEC for once, it was by the CFTC. Now, the thing about the CFTC's case is they're actually bringing a legitimate case. It's not like an SEC case where they just allege a whole bunch of things that don't make any sense. I looked through the CFTC case, it looks like they do have some points on things that were going on at Binance, things like CZ, the CEO of Binance, trading on his own exchange, having over 300 accounts, sending messages to employees saying, hey, you can allow this illegal activity, pretty much saying turn a blind eye to it. And all of these things aren't a good look for Binance, but I really don't think it's going to be anything crazy like the end of Binance. At the end of the day, the CFTC only has jurisdiction over the United States, and Binance is an international company. I have a feeling this is going to turn into a slap on the wrist by the CFTC and pretty much a way to tell Binance, hey, you're kind of doing some sketchy stuff here, get in line and figure it out. Now, most of the charges in this case actually aren't even from today. They're from things that happened in like 2018, 2019, and I think Binance has cleaned up its act a lot since then. So what I really want to point out here is this case really isn't that much of an attack on Binance. Binance has a lot of money, they're going to weather this, but the more interesting thing that came out of this case is the CFTC directly labeled Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin as commodities. What this is more than anything else is a regulatory battle between the CFTC and the SEC. The CFTC and SEC are now just suing companies willy-nilly, trying to slap security or commodity designations on different tokens. We actually saw this strategy started by the SEC, where the SEC would sue a company like Coinbase and say, oh, by the way, you're also trading some tokens we think are securities. It's called backdoor regulation. The SEC doesn't want to do the work to actually create rules for what's a security, what is not, or actually give these different projects a chance to prove to the public, hey, this is why we don't think we're a security. Instead, the SEC wants to force this designation on projects and say, hey, we're going to force you to be a security by not allowing you to defend yourself, but also suing this completely unrelated company and just jamming it in there. Well, what we see is the CFTC is actually now fighting back by doing this same exact thing. And as ugly as it is, I actually kind of like this move because the CFTC had to step up and fight back. One of the most annoying things I find in politics is when one party runs rampant, does whatever they want, and the other party doesn't go low and fight at that same level. This is the CFTC doing exactly that. They acknowledge the SEC's playing dirty, so they're going to play dirty right back. Now, as ugly as it is, it's simply what they have to do, or the SEC is just going to keep running wild. It's going to be interesting to see how the SEC responds to this, but the most important thing we can take away from this is that this is fair notice gold for Ripple. These regulators cannot agree on what these different cryptocurrencies are. Why would Ripple have known what these regulators were going to decide back in 2013? It's completely unrealistic. We are in 2023, 10 years later, and the SEC and CFTC literally can't agree on the top 3 tokens. It's completely embarrassing. And not only that, but the SEC changes their mind on some tokens every single year. A couple years ago, the SEC was saying Ethereum was a commodity, now they're saying it's a security. Not only can the SEC and CFTC not agree, the SEC themselves can't even agree on what a token is internally. Ultimately, we are watching a regulatory turf battle between these two major agencies trying to get control of this industry, and the good news is the main reason they want control of it is because they know it's gonna be massive in the future. They would not be fighting over this industry if it really was all scams, if it was all just illicit activity and it was gonna turn into nothing. They want control of this industry because they know its true potential. And once the dust settles and once this starts getting figured out, let me tell you, the best companies in the industry are going to weather this and go on to be some of the most disruptive companies in the world. And I just want to finish this video off and quickly talk about tomorrow and the XRP price chart, because I think we're actually getting something pretty interesting going on right now. So a couple weeks ago, we were really watching this formation. XRP broke out of it, but we didn't really see any explosion to the upside. We kind of just saw XRP slowly grinding higher. What I want to point out is before every single big pump on XRP's price chart, we saw this slow kind of grind up and then the price went parabolic. We saw the slow little grind up and then the price went parabolic. It's very possible we're seeing that same exact thing right now, and essentially the XRP price chart is just waiting for the catalyst that ultimately would propel us higher. What we know is we are right around the corner from the Ripple SEC case ending, and that could be one of the biggest catalysts the crypto market has ever seen. And funny enough, we also have David Schwartz putting out very interesting tweets like this check right here, dated March 28th, 2023, which is tomorrow, with the price $589,000 on it. Now, I have no idea if this is just some crazy coincidence or he's trying to signal something to the XRP community. If you think it's absolutely insane he would try to signal something, just understand he has done it in the past. There are various instances of David Schwartz predicting XRP's price movement and him predicting it in a very big way. My eyes are on tomorrow. We are overdue from a decision by Judge Torres. I don't think David Schwartz would know when that decision came in, but you don't just tweet something like this at a time like this without, just making people think maybe there's something more to it. My eyes are on tomorrow. I'm very curious if David Schwartz actually had logic behind putting this out, but either way, I am expecting this case to be over, at least a large part of this case to be over this week. So my fingers are crossed for tomorrow, but at worst, let's hope it's Friday. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.